Welcome to the Seahawkers podcast with your hosts, Adam Emmert.
We mentioned Dwayne Brown's name once because he got beat once.
And Brandon Schultz.
It's just preseason. It's just preseason. It's just preseason. It's just preseason.
Go Hawks!
This is episode 213 of the Seahawkers podcast. I'm Brandon Schultz of the Military Seahawkers, and joining me for a preseason game instant reaction show, my good buddy Adam Emmert.
This is all you folks, everybody that listens to this show, all you little flockers, everybody that's gotten us, like, I think we're at 300 now.
299.
Actually. Close enough. I'm real happy with that. And you guys have earned us doing a podcast, like just post-reaction show. And we're even doing this a little earlier. Like, we're in the middle of the third quarter. I am not able to stream the game while we do this. So I'm just going to give you my reactions from the first half and the first half of the third quarter. So what would that be?
Yeah,
I'm not
the
good
first
at math.
40 minutes.
40 minutes. There it is. Also, you get a double whammy because we promised you a drunk podcast if we ever got to like a certain point. I'm hammered. So here we go. Here we go.
Well, starting things off, the Seahawks in the third quarter, about 40 minutes in, down 21-6. If we just go by what the starters and what we saw at that point, I don't know if we count that special team score for the Chargers or not, but about 14-6.
Why would we not count that?
I don't know. Did we have our backup special teams in that at that point? I feel like John Ryan's the backup.
Special teams? I don't think there are. I don't think there are. Yeah, it kind of got owned in almost all three phases of the game.
They were owned in many phases of the game, including at the goal line, which was probably the hardest part for me to watch. But if we're gonna start it off with a positive takeaway, Russell Wilson showed he can be the same exact guy of getting the ball down the field quickly. Maybe not getting in the end zone. And I think maybe Darrell Bevell would be proud.
Okay, out of all the questions we've had coming into the preseason and this team this year, the question about Russell Wilson is the one that has not been raised because nobody has questions about Russell Wilson. We know who Russell Wilson is. He's a freaking stud, and he showed it. He showed it. You know what he can also do? He can also make up for the shortcomings of, say, a bad right tackle. I'm not going to name names. Germain Ifedi. Wow. Terrible. All the Bulls. He was terrible.
There's no sugarcoating it. Ifedi was terrible.
No. He was, my Lord. I mean, I understand we make jokes about traffic cones and getting laid and like all that stuff. I don't even know what the next step past that would be to make the joke about how bad he is in space. But good God.
Now, Melvin Ingram is pretty good. We knew we were going to go up against a pretty good defensive line.
Fine. But here's the thing. So every team that we come up against with not even two good pass rushers, but one, what do you do if you're the opposing coach? You put that pass rusher lined up against Germain Ifedi every single down, every single play, and you reap the rewards.
Yeah.
That's what you do. That's what I've seen out of two preseason games from Ifedi, especially this game.
Well, I was starting to wonder, where was Will Dissly with giving him a little bit of help on the right side against Ingram? And maybe it was that maybe we didn't notice Ifedi when Dissly was giving him help.
Why are you blaming Uncle Will? He doesn't play right tackle.
I'm saying help the dude out. You know Ifedi's is having problems. Give him some help.
Here's the thing. That's a coaching decision, right? And in the preseason, you're trying to figure out, did Ifedi take a step this year? Did he take some things to heart in the offseason? Did he improve? Has Mike Solari made him better? And so you put him out there on an island against Melvin Ingram a handful of times. And then not only that, who's 98 from the Chargers on the Hail Mary that beat him like a drum? It's a Hail Mary. Everybody knows you're passing. Like Ifedi knows you're passing. The rest of the offensive line, the entire defensive line, everybody knows you're passing on a Hail Mary, and he gets freaking olayed. It's like he was unprepared for it. He's like, oh, crap, it's not a run? Oh, this guy's running around me. Suddenly, I have no idea what to do. What a joke show.
And did they actually rush 4 on that play, or was it only 3? Because usually on the Hail Marys.
Never mind whether it's 3, 2, 1.
I'm just saying it's worse if it's less than 4.
He had a one-on-one matchup that was ridiculous. It wasn't, if it wasn't for Russell Wilson being able to do one of his really cool pirouetting spin moves around the defender to then set up at least a Hail Mary throw, it would never even have happened. What a joke, man.
Well, we saw a couple times Russell Wilson getting out of trouble, even trouble from Dwayne Brown's side at one point early on in the game. I think that was Ingram.
Dwayne whiffed on one.
Yeah.
Dwayne whiffed on one.
On one, I know, but that's fine. It's nice to see Russell be able to get out of those things.
Sure. I'm just saying, let's not bang on Dwayne Brown. But also, too, at the same time, I was like, we paid you a lot of money. That's the block I expect you to make. Okay,
so Ifedi, a clear issue there. Part of the problem is I don't know if there's an answer to that particular issue because Jamarco Jones, he went down.
I'm available.
Isaiah Battle went down last game.
I'm available.
Yeah.
I think I'd be an upgrade at this point.
What about George Fant?
He's available. You know what?
You're starting to come onto that idea?
Toot, toot. Here comes the fan train. Because I want him to play right tackle, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
I think I do.
After watching this game, I don't blame anybody for calling for it.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. I might be all aboard the fan train, which is scary as hell.
Another guy we got to see on the offensive line, Jordan Roos, in for the injured right guard.
He doesn't play as well with appropriate length shorts. That's something that I've noticed.
Better. We should allow him to play in short shorts and man tights.
I'm warming up to the idea because he looks better in practice. But
Fluker apparently out with a hand injury.
Correct. Yeah, that shows you a little bit of the value of Fluker. Hopefully he's not out long. But yeah. Fluker's kind of holding together that right side of the line with no help from Jermaine Awiffy.
Right.
That's his new name, Awiffy.
Awiffy.
I just made that up right now.
It's very creative. I'm sure nobody else has thought of it.
No, I haven't heard it.
Well, let's get to some of the positives, like Chris Carson and Jaron Brown, officially the good
Chris
Brown.
Carson's your positive after he fumbled twice?
Okay, well, up until that point, things were looking pretty positive for Chris Carson.
Let me take a strong guess here and suggest that Chris Carson is going to be spending a lot of time with a football for the next week.
Yeah. Well, the first fumble actually didn't count because his momentum had stopped.
Yeah, he was well down, for a while. So I can't bang on him much for that. But the second one, come on, man. Yeah,
it looked like he got kind of hit up under the chin with the shoulder pad from the defender.
Well, whoop-de-freaking do. Hold on to the catfishing ball. That's the thing. First and goal from the one, man. This is every Seahawks fan's worst nightmare in a way, right? Because of the play that shall not be named.
I just wanted him to keep running the football.
Run it 4 times and smash it in there. Can we do that, please?
And then after the fact, I said, why did we not throw it to Brandon Marshall?
Which was a funny joke by you. Yeah, and I appreciate it. Yeah.
Start the fire shoddy train.
Well, no, because he lost the visor for this game. One of the little flockers pointed that out. I can't remember which.
Yeah.
But he looks better.
I wonder if the visors are authorized for the games. Because remember how BA couldn't wear his signature hat, Bruce Arians, for the Cardinals? He had to wear a normal hat. Him.
Yeah. Be a little less douchey.
That's what I'm wondering.
Maybe the NFL has an anti-douchey hat rule.
Right.
That we're not aware of.
You have to wear a real hat.
No page boy hats.
Full hats.
No visors, no hobo hats. You got to wear a full hat. And not a page boy hat where the front of your hat touches the front of the brim of your bill, which looks stupid too.
And I don't even know if those had actual NFL logos on them either.
Let me ask you, though, a little bit, Brandon. So after the first preseason game, I was thinking, all right, this team is showing some of the promise that I kind of hoped they would, and was feeling encouraged regarding the team. I feel a little more discouraged after this game. Do you follow, or do you have a different feeling?
No,
different
I think nearly every Seahawks fan would be right to feel that way, but I still think of it as being preseason. I mean, think about how down Rams fans probably were when they got blown out by they weren't down Ravens.
Because the national media was blowing smoke up their ass the whole time. They still felt good.
I don't think they did. I don't think getting blown out in the preseason ever feels good. And I've yet to go and check.
To a Rams fan, it would, because they have no knowledge of football.
I've yet to go and check this fully, but I don't think a Super Bowl champion has ever gotten blown out by 20 or more points in the preseason.
That feels true.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, it feels true.
I haven't looked at the last 3 years, but I looked at all of the years before 2015.
That makes sense. All right. So let me ask you about the defense real quick. All right. First string defense against Philip Rivers and the Chargers.
Defensive line. Yikes.
Okay. So here was my question.
Yeah.
Does it concern you more that Philip Rivers did some slice and dice things? Or does it concern you more that up the gut, the defensive line seemed to be dominated?
Yes, that concerned me more. The defensive line up the gut, because preseason Philip Rivers is always awesome. We see him every year against the Seahawks.
Anything short of postseason Philip Rivers is pretty awesome.
And we don't see regular season Philip Rivers all that often. So I just know what I see in the preseason against the Seahawks defense, and we're always getting carved by Rivers.
Dude, Philip Rivers has our number, man.
I think he does.
Like, whatever it is that we call Philip Rivers seems to be like, oh, yeah, no, I got this, and then I got this guy over here, and I got that guy over there. Oh, wait, you have some rushers on me, and I can't run? Well, I'll just shrug that dude off, and then go over here, and then slide arm sling it to, like, some dude, and it'll be a first down, and it'll break your heart, because I'm Philip Rivers, and my bolo ties are amazing.
You've pretty much expressed all of my feelings of watching Philip Rivers scramble outside of the pocket and dump the ball off for the entire, first quarter that he was in.
It was so frustrating. It was so frustrating.
But as frustrating as that was, I did expect the Seahawks up the middle to make those stops. When you have Jaron Reed, when you have Bobby Wagner, and you have KJ Wright,
Naj Jones.
Yeah.
Stevens.
Those guys in the middle, you expect to get the job done, and that didn't happen.
That did not happen.
And then you saw Tedrick Thompson do his best Earl Thomas impression and not tackle with his arms either, and just hit a guy in the thigh, and the dude bounces off.
Okay, that's fair. That's a fair critique. But I also enjoy the fact that T2 had the speed, the recognition, and everything to be there. He's starting to get his reps. Those are the things that I consider to be the things he could get better at with some practice, in-game practice. And so watching him just being in position and reacting quickly and playing fast, that to me was a positive, even though he missed the tackle, if that makes sense.
It does make sense to me, because comparing that to last preseason, when he always seemed to have, he was trailing the defender rather than being in position to make the tackle. It is a step.
Right. And I think a clear example of this, if you're going to compare, is a little bit of the play of Delano Hill, who looks late on everything in this game.
That was out with the second stringers even.
This is exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, it is starting to feel that if Thomas were not there week one, that your two guys on the back end of the defense are going to be McDougal and Thompson.
And McDougal was all over the field.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt like he played really well.
I feel like having him as the strong safety and Tedrick as the free safety works out better than if you would have McDougal as the free and then either Delano or I guess Maurice Alexander as the other guy who's potentially as the strong safety.
Well, the thing is, at the end of the day, it's going to be Earl Thomas at free safety, and then McDougal at strong. Like that's how that's going to go, unless somehow T2 can beat him out at strong safety, which I don't think will happen because McDougal is a professional.
Anybody else on defense? I was
disappointed in the linebacker play
with the starters
and KJ.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, they
with
felt
those
late covering things over the middle. They felt late filling gaps. They felt late on everything.
As far as Shaquille Griffin, though, there were some big catches from Keenan Allen. I don't know who exactly had Allen on some of those catches, but again, that's preseason Phillip Rivers. I attribute a lot of that to.
Well, one of those was against one of the backup DBs, and he just got turned around on Keenan Allen going across the middle on a fairly regular 12-yard crosser. Yeah, that was not something I took a lot of concern in. But the defense, I mean, I guess overall, if I'm looking at this team right now, the thoughts that I have is I have a fair amount of faith in the offense, actually. And I'm more concerned about the defense, which feels very weird to say as a Seahawks fan.
That is unusual. And I guess it depends where do you have more concern? It's got to be with the pass rush, right?
Not particularly. It's more in the run defense.
In the run defense, yeah.
Yeah, that's where it is for me, because really on the pass defense, whether or not the pass rush was getting there, most of the things that they were giving up were things underneath. And as long as you're only giving up crap underneath rather than giving up the big play, and they whittle you down for 12 plays, then they have to work for it. Because odds are, just in the NFL, you're going to miss on one of those 12 plays. So that works in your favor rather than just giving up quick hitters. And I don't think that's what the pass defense was doing. Now, with the run defense, I was seeing them gouge us for 4, 5, 6 yards pretty regularly on the ground. That's what had me concerned.
Yeah, and once they got inside the 10 on that first drive, and it was just Melvin Gordon all day up the middle until they got into the end zone.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you do it. And,
well, you'd like to see that from
really
our team. And we got
really
to watch
helps
it from the
when
Chargers.
your running back doesn't fumble the ball within that sequence.
Well, speaking of running backs on the Seahawks side, number 22 on the field for the Seahawks, CJ Prosise.
Cool, and he'll be out for 3 more games. I'm sure he hasn't been hurt yet, but he will be between now and by the time this gets posted.
Yeah, stat line in the fourth quarter, only 2 rushes, 7 yards. So
not a lot of run for CJ.
Well, not a lot of run for anybody. I mean, Chris Carson, 9 for 34. Russell had a 4-yard run. Mike Davis, a 3-yard run. McKissick, 6 yards. I'm sure McKissick's still going because he seems to be the guy that they go with in the fourth quarter, but not a lot of production out of the running backs, despite the emphasis on the run game. And I think we noticed that a lot in the last game, with just the ability of, there's not a lot of depth on the offensive line.
Here's the one thing that pissed me off in this game, this preseason 2 game. And again, it's preseason, blah, 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 but yet I'm still a little pissed off about it. It was 3rd and 1. I think it was our 3rd possession, and we were backed up around the 15, something like that.
Yeah.
After clawing our way out from the shadow of our own goal line with a couple decent plays. And Brian Schottenheimer preached to us all throughout this offseason about how we were going to run the ball when everybody knew we were going to run it, and we were going to be successful at it. It's 3rd and 1, backed up on our own end, and it's time to run the ball when everybody knows we're going to do it, and we're going to be successful at it. You know what we do? We go 4 wide. Empty. Russell Wilson back there by himself, and an incompletion to Brandon Marshall, which would have been an impossible catch. I don't even blame Brandon Marshall. That right there was disconcerting. Now, maybe Brian Schottenheimer was just trying something out to see if that's something that they could do later on in the season, and they don't want to tip their hand or something. But God, catfish! Now's the time to practice what you preach. And not running the ball right there, that was frustrating as hell.
When you want to emphasize the run game,
that's the time to send a message to your team.
Yeah.
That's the time to send a message to your team, to the league, to everybody, and say, look, no, we are the smash mouth Seahawks football team that we had been for years and years. And we're recommitting. That is the moment. Right there. In preseason game number 2. And we go 4 wide. Empty.
If you're 3rd and 2, gross. If you're 3rd and 1, that's the time when you expect your team to be able to run the football, put the fullback in, run behind him, and
pick up a first down.
Get a first down. That's was the maddening part of last season, that they couldn't do that. Get some practice.
If there was ever a time that was the time. I don't understand that at all.
Well, we did see Marshall out on the field. I don't think he actually came down with a catch. He had a PI call down the field that allowed the Seahawks to pick up a first down, and then he did miss on that one. But Jaron Brown and David Moore, the two receivers, both 2 catches over 70 yards. Brown had a 45-yard pass that he hauled in. Moore had a 52-yard catch. Good things from those two guys.
How many guys do we keep? 5 or 6?
I'm leaning 5.
Okay, me too. So that 5 right now to me is just like this. It's obviously Doug Baldwin, Tyler Lockett,
right?
Jaron Brown.
Mm-hmm.
It's David Moore, and then give me your 5th.
For me, it would be Marshall.
Well, yeah, I think it'd be Marshall too. Those are your 5. I did that exercise in my own head when I was less drunk, and I was able to put Marshall in there earlier. So. Yeah.
Well, I think after this game that you do put more in there earlier.
I mean, clearly we got the good Brown.
Yeah.
What can Brown do for you? A whole hell of a lot. And him and Russ seem to have a real connection.
Which is really interesting considering the amount of time that they've spent together. But yeah, it just seems like a natural chemistry there. We saw it in the kind of show up in that scrimmage that the Seahawks had during the preseason, and we're starting to see it on the field now with those 2 catches. And then he had another one where it looked like he nearly came down with too. So I think the Brown may be an upgrade even from P. Rich last season.
I think he absolutely is an upgrade from P. Rich. I think that's a very easy. Well, I guess it depends on how you describe upgrade. Because to me, P. Rich was the better highlight reel catcher, right? Like, I mean, he can make the spectacular catch like no one, really. I mean, he's right up there with the best of the best when it comes to the spectacular catch. But the everyday move the chains, do the thing, Jaron Brown's way better.
I think the guy who's going to be the spectacular catcher is Moore. Because we saw him in the last game kind of go up over the top of the receiver to haul in the pass from Davis last game. And then he had the pass in the game against the Chargers where it looked like it was going to be an easy interception by the Chargers. And somehow Moore able to get his hands and in front of the guy the corner that was covered, the DB that was coming over, and haul the pass in.
Slow your roll. The spectacular catcher on the Seattle Seahawks, his name is Mr. Doug Baldwin. That's who the spectacular cast catcher is.
I was thinking that somebody was going to take over the number 2 spot with Richardson gone.
Yeah, well, because I'm drunk, it's a cast patcher. That's what I said.
A cast patcher.
Yeah.
Oh, these are going to be fun.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Austin Davis in for a whole 3 passes. Went 1 for 3 and 6 yards. So, hooray.
Those feel like Austin Davis numbers.
Alex Magoo at this point, 4 for 4, 55 yards.
Whatever, man. I couldn't stream this while we were talking, so I have no idea what the Magoo is doing.
I don't know what he's doing either, but I think he already has more passing yards than he did last game.
Maybe so. I mean, Russell nearly had 200 passing yards by half. And don't poo-poo that, because many of the Chargers' number ones on defense were in the game that whole first half.
And they have a pretty solid secondary for the Chargers.
It's all right. Yeah. I mean, and that's one of the ways that I'd be encouraged about this game is we watched Russell Wilson and crew move the ball up and down the field to a degree. And that's without Doug Baldwin. That's without Tyler Lockett. I mean, these are the straws that stir the drink in the passing game on the receiver side of things.
Well, they didn't have their top receivers, and they were going up against the Chargers secondary. And we saw on ESPN this week, and I'm curious if you saw this, the Chargers secondary, they're going for a named secondary. You know, you have like the no-fly zone for the Broncos is what they call themselves.
Or the Cardinals or any other team that tries to adopt the name the no-fly zone. Do better.
Have you heard the name of the Chargers secondary?
I'm going to say shock and awe, because they're lightning, right? Shock and awe.
The Jack Boys.
Wrong.
Yeah.
That's not good.
It's not good.
What, they all sit in their dorm rooms and catfish? Because that's what I get out of the Jack Boys. You can't bleep that out either. None of those are bad words. I know how Reddit's making you right now, and it doesn't matter. You can't even bleep it out. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Chargers secondary, just jacking it. That's catching on. Don't worry about it.
But Russell Wilson did throw for almost 200 yards, and with no highlights in the running game, I suppose. I mean, the highlights were clearly Russell Wilson to Brown and Moore. I
thought Carson actually ran the ball pretty effectively. Look at dirty runs. The idea, those 2, 3, 4 yard runs, right? And if you're a running back that can take a 2 yard run and turn it into a 4 yard run by falling forward, by pushing the pile a little bit, doing those things, all the things Eddie Lacy was supposedly going to do, right? Chris Carson actually does that. That's something that I absolutely notice. I think that's something to think positively about.
All right. Well, as we wrap this up for our first quick reaction show of the preseason. I
see. So catfish kind of references is where this thing wraps up.
That's where, yeah.
Okay.
That's where we go off the rails.
Okay.
Alex Magoo has led the team down the field. It's 21-14.
Oh man,
4:31 left. See, we should cut this short just so we can go watch Magoo finish this thing off, score a touchdown, and then get the 2-point conversion. Come away from LA with a win.
Yeah, sure, yeah, because that's what's going to happen. I could give a rip what the actual outcome is, but
that wouldn't make you feel at all better about this game.
No, I'm looking at the first half. Like that's what I wanted to see. Those guys.
It wasn't real pretty.
It wasn't real ugly.
The defense was kind of ugly.
Kind of. But, all right, let's take that and break that down real quick. So 7 of those points were special teams points, right?
Yeah, and that was really ugly. There was no blocking up the middle. Or no dudes in the middle.
There's a lot of blocking up the middle.
By the Chargers.
The problem. Yeah, that was the problem. There was no tackling up the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take that away. But
can we?
If you're looking...
Okay.
But if we're looking at, first team defense, first team offense, everything, we're right in the game at halftime.
Which is where they want to be.
Isn't that the equation that the Seattle Seahawks have used since day one of Pete Carroll? Run the ball, play tough defense, be in the game at the end, and then when do you win? Do you win the game in the first quarter?
No.
Do you win the game in the second quarter?
No.
How about the third?
Not in the third.
Do you win the game in the fourth quarter, Brandon?
Yes, you do.
That's what I'm saying. And so when I look at the style of play from the first half, while disheartening on a few levels that we talked about, they were right there in the game. And you give me Russell Wilson any day of the week being right there in the game, that's 9 wins. That's 9 wins on the season. Pencil it in. It's already done. Write down 9, and then if the defense evolves, if special teams play gets a little better, then you can pencil in a 10 and 11. But right now, just pencil in 9. Because Russell Wilson showed me everything already. We're 9 wins already, baby. That's what I've gotten out of this preseason.
I can't do anything but agree. And until I see any different, I don't think...
Catfish! Right, you can't. Yeah.
There's nothing I'm going to see in the preseason that would necessarily change my mind on that, because we've watched this team be a fourth quarter team over the history of Russell Wilson being on this team. Definitely more so without, since Lynch left the team. We're not going to see in the preseason Russell Wilson in the fourth quarter. So until we get week 1, week 2, that's when we're going to be able to evaluate how this team is any different, if at all, from previous seasons.
So here's exactly my takeaway after 2 weeks of the preseason. And again, this is a very early reaction, and I'm hammered. So take it for whatever it's worth.
Uh-huh.
But the offense has improved. And honestly, the offensive line has improved. Like, as much as we crushed Fetty for his poor play.
Yeah, that's not an improvement. That's just him staying the same.
Correct. But then take the other 4 positions. How many times have we mentioned Ethan Posic's name?
0. That's a good thing.
Oh, that is a good thing. We mentioned Dwayne Brown's name once because he got beat once.
Yeah.
Oh, my stars. No way. Like, he got beat
and
once.
That's probably the reason why we
wait
mentioned
a second.
him.
Wait. Is Dwayne Brown a human being or an alien? Oh, he's a human being. That's right. He might mess up once.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Justin Britt, have you talked about him at all? Wow. That means from center to the left side, we look real good. Till DJ Fluker went out, we didn't talk about right guard, did we? Not really.
Week. Yeah.
Other than we're like, wow, look at DJ Fluker play. He does road grader things. That's great. Whatever the hand injury is, I'm sure that'll be short term. That's fine. The only place that we're looking at on that offensive line as a point of hasn't gotten better is Ifedi. Give Russell Wilson, just look in this game. Give Russell Wilson only one man to beat instead of three within 2 steps of taking the ball, and he does things. He had pocket thingies.
And we've said in the past, not everybody on the team can be awesome. Like you have to have, there will be those couple guys where you go, yeah, that's the guy who's not as awesome as the rest.
But guess what? We have the ultimate guy to make up for that one guy that's not awesome, right? Instead of 4 guys, 5 guys who are not awesome. This offense, to me, is super encouraging. And that's going to be something that surprises this league. And I think also, too, Brian Schottenheimer's play calling has probably been pretty vanilla throughout the preseason. I mean, I know that's going out on a limb, but the idea is that there's more in the playbook. Look at this team march up and down the field, their first drives, the last 2 games.
Both with Russell, and then you had the one with Austin Davis even.
I think it was Dave Bloomquist who posted on the Ring of Honor, get ready for a lot of 31-35 shootouts.
And that's how it could be.
And that's kind of how I'm feeling. I'm feeling very encouraged by the offense. I'm feeling slightly discouraged by the defense. But we also have that wild card in the hole, and his name is Earl Thomas. And he's not going to win this contract negotiation. And he's going to be back on this team.
What's your prediction for Thomas at this moment? We're probably going to do this a few times
week
before the season starts. Really?
Week 4 or 5.
I say week 1.
I would love it if it was week 1, but I think it'd probably be more like week 4 or 5. Because he's no less resolved than Cam.
You think at this point he has to kind of put some money where his mouth is and actually be out?
Well, he already is. He's $1 million and some in the hole and fines already.
Don't the teams tend to waive that stuff from the preseason?
They didn't with Cam. They're not playing around.
Sure. Well, yeah, you don't want to
get your ass back here and play. And guess what? If we don't give you a contract next year, we're going to put the franchise tag on you.
That's what Holmgren did with Joey Galloway.
I'd be the ultimate dick with the franchise tag, and that's exactly what I would do.
And say, well, we haven't used it to this point because we haven't needed to, because we haven't had anybody screw around with us like this.
Hold out to week 4 or 5 again.
Yeah.
And guess what? The next year, I can franchise tag you again. If I'm John Schneider, that's what I'm doing.
Sure. And I
this
make
is
that
a dick
clear now.
measuring contest. That's where this is. That's where this comes down to. Right now, it is that. And one side has all the leverage. So as much as I love Earl, as much as I respect his position, and I understand where he's coming from, you're going to be back, and you're going to play high-level ball, and you're going to do it. Sometimes this is just what we're doing.
Okay, I could see one scenario where maybe Earl doesn't come back and start. If it's toward middle of the season, toward week 8, 9, or 10, and the Seahawks are not in playoff position, and he comes back and you say, okay, we'll just roll with Tedrick or whoever's back there.
That's interesting. That could actually unfold.
They would have to be out of playoff position by midseason, though. I don't see that happening.
Well, actually, I do, because I think the Seahawks are going to start out slow this year, but then really rally towards the end. And their record is going to be much better by the end of the season than at the start. Like, be ready, Seahawks fan, for everybody to just keep piling on about how everything has changed and how we suck now and blah, 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 blah. When we start out the season like 2-3, because all the games on the road, right out of the gate, all those things. Young players starting. But I really expect Pete Carroll and this group to develop the young players and to be a contender towards the end. And so there's going to be a lot of people writing us off for the playoffs early on in the season. Just be prepared for that. That's going to be okay. I'm not going to panic before week 8.
Yeah, I think 2-3 is fair for a 5-game start.
That's not ideal. In fact, I believe they'll be better, but I'm just saying that that's not unrealistic.
It wouldn't shock me.
To me.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I see them going on a tear.
Like they usually do.
Well, yeah, because that's what they do.
All right, Adam. Well, as we wrap this up, 40 seconds left in the game. The Chargers do get a field goal. They're up 24-14. The Chargers will walk away with a victory. I'm pretty confident in that. There will be no late game magic where they score 10 plus points and come away with the win, unfortunately. So what do you say we move on to Better at Life to close this out?
Well, I wasn't prepared for these sort of things.
You have to be prepared. I said it was episode 213. When I give an episode number, we must award a Better at Life to somebody.
All right, what kind of rules are these? I don't even know. Spring this on me. Like I should know your internal code. Like I should know what Dexter is thinking at all times. Like what his internal code was as a good serial killer. Like how do you expect me to know this?
Well, we're only
this is some BS.
We're only 213 shows in.
I'm not your husband. Okay.
And we will get to thanking some of our new members of the flock, those that helped push us up to 299. You know what? Somebody should try and be number 300. You know what? We did have 300 as I check my mail now. Jared Perkins came back in, Adam. Remember number 300?
There he is.
We did
there
it.
There he is. All right. I got my hands raised way up above my head in the victory salute. And, I kind of figured, like, if we did this, like that last 300th member would come across the line, and they did. Jared Perkins, I can't think of somebody more fitting. That's awesome, man.
So as we're struggling to find somebody to name Better at Life, maybe we give it to Jared.
Well, you could. Yeah.
I was thinking that for our quick recaps, our quick reaction shows, we could kind of give it to the MVP of the game.
Okay. Well, that'd be David Moore.
That would be David Moore. But you know what? Number 300, Jared Perkins. You are better at life than Skip Bayless.
He's better at life than Skip Bayless. That's pretty impressive, man. I appreciate Jared coming in. It's cool to have a familiar name come back to be the 300th.
And he's in. So putting us over the top. I feel like you're still looking at your iPad to try and find another Better at Life.
Shut up. Don't call me out like that. That's exactly what I'm doing. Well, all right. My Better at Life than Skip Bayless is for Baxter Humby. You don't know who Baxter Humby is. Baxter Humby is an MMA fighter. I've had this tab pulled up on my web browser for about 3 months. He was going to be my backup Better at Life than Skip Bayless for a long time. Baxter Humby was also known as the one-armed bandit. He's much like Shaquem Griffin, missing his right hand. Is amputated at birth. And he goes out there and he's actually won some freaking championships as an MMA fighter with only one freaking hand. That's what it means to be Hart. That's what it means to have to be a baller. Baxter Humby, better at life than Skip Bayless. I didn't even read the whole article. I just read the cliff notes on Wikipedia and put it out there real quick.
And as I look into our Ring of Honor group on Facebook, I see Keith Flocktimus Prime repeating over and over. It's just preseason. 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 It's just preseason.
Ain't just preseason. We're going to be in for a dogfight this year.
It's just the preseason.
We're going to have to find some answers on the fly.
It's just preseason.
That interior of the defensive line, that's going to have to look stouter before I feel good.
It's just preseason.
It's going to have to look stouter.
It's just preseason.
Your mom's just preseason.
And with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks. I like how it has to have a better at life and no do better to be an official episode. That's funny.
Hey, did we do betters for the first, 5 or 6 shows?
3 or 4.
Did they have episode numbers?
Yeah. How many episode numbers have we done?
213.
Okay. So that's more episodes by hundreds in Do Betters than Better Life. Just because you came up with it on the first episode. That's the marker, huh? That's your thing, and which is great. And I love. But it doesn't have to be an official episode without my thing, the Do Better. Is that how this is?
Is
that how it is?
I didn't think that these were things
it's personal.
I thought this was our thing and not my thing and your thing.
No, Better Life has always been your thing.
Well, we're still working this out. You could do your do better.
Better Life has always been your thing, which I applaud and hold up and love and labor towards because I think it was an amazing effort. But do better is my freaking thing. People need to do better. And if it's gonna get an official episode title, then there needs to be a do better. And my do better this week is for Brandon Schultz for trying to end this episode without a do better. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks. Do they have to be? Is it okay if they're out of order, or should I do the editing to make that?
I don't give a crap about order. Zero catfish about order. Just needs to be there.
All right.
I guess I'll send this to you. We'll see what happens.
Okay, sounds good, dude.
Yeah, I want you to put all this in on the back end. This is great.
Oh yeah, a lot of this is still going to make it in.
All right. Well, very good. Hey, and just because of that, all y'all like 300 flockers to make this happen. Is really cool to have us do it right as the 300th came in. This was cool, man.
That was cool.
It was cool, and I enjoyed it. And I hope you enjoyed me being slightly inebriated. Like, I hope that
as it went on, like I couldn't really tell so much at the beginning, but definitely as we got toward the end. Definitely as we got toward the end.
Hammered. Full sentences still.
You did all right. I don't know why they don't let other like radio people do this.
I don't either. If I was going to be a radio person, this would be part of my contract. By quarter 3, I'm hammered, and you're going to get gold. I think that's where I make my money.
If we had a contract set up to do this, I would put that in there.
Yeah, more beers by the third quarter, everything will be fine.
It'll be fine.
Even if it's a blowout, it's going to be interesting.
All right, dude.
All right. With that,
there's only one thing left to say?
There you go. See, you almost know how the show ends. Go Hawks.
We've already ended it a couple times.
No, I told you all this was going on.
Oh, okay. Go Hawks.